Hey guys, Cherryland Gaming here, coming at you with a fun deck tech video and a little bit of a channel update. So for starters, so far as the channel is, changed the name to Cherryland Gaming, which I thought would be a fun change. It's more of a local name because of where we live. It's the cherry capital, and I wanted to bring our local scene more into Flesh and Blood. And I thought it'd be kind of fun because our local scene keeps growing and we have some pretty competitive players and we've been traveling to events. And I thought it'd be fun to be able to label it as like a little bit of a local team. Hopefully you're gonna get some gameplay videos of like playtesting and just more deck techs and whatnot. Just fun stuff for the future, but just gotta figure out how to get those games in. I gotta figure out a better way to record live games, but we'll figure it out. But yeah, that's the channel update. It's just a name change and what might be cool for the future. But for the deck tech video, this is a Dromai deck tech video, and this is a pretty fun one. I've been messing with this list a lot, and I feel like it's a pretty solid list for what I like to do at Dromai. And it's kind of a hybrid build of the heavy dragon plan with some attacks. But one of the key differences of this build that you'll notice off the bat is I don't run Phantasmal Footsteps. So I'm not running a lot of the 1-for-5 attacks, but it's for the reasoning of I kind of, even on the other builds, Phi is such a rough matchup that I don't like the idea of making the build tuned to do better against Phi because you're probably going to lose the matchup anyways. And I've even beaten Phis with this build, and I decided to tune this to be better versus the rest of the meta. So as long as you don't play against Phis, you have a decent shot. Like, the other aggro matchups are doable because we're running a defensive package and all your cards block for 3 for the most part, and you can just make good value trades. But let's get into the deck tech. So for starters, let's go off of the equipment. So this is pretty much what you're going to run every single time except for against Kano. This is literally the equipment you run. We're running Crown of Dominion, Flamescale Furnace, Mage Masters, Silken Form. So the reason why I went Mage Masters and no Footsteps is because I'm not really running any Phantasm attacks except for Ember Moss Senpai, but those are just blues that block 3, so there's not really a need for it. And Phantasmal Footsteps don't do anything for your dragons. But for this type of build, I don't think you need Footsteps at all because I'm just not running cards that gain value off of it. And I don't really care about the block for 1 because Mage Masters also make an Ash pitching for 1, doing what I need it to do. But the main key part of why I think this build is actually powerful now is because of Crown of Dominion. Without Crown of Dominion, this build was very bad. But with Crown of Dominion, with that gold piece, it made it so this build is actually very solid. This is a 30 dragon build. And we'll go over, I do have 6 of the dragons in the sideboard. So this is a 54 card main deck. And then we got our sideboard, but 6 dragons are in the sideboard. We got the Uvias and Thamais in sideboard because you really only need them into certain matchups. Uvia for your slower matchups, they're grindier because those Ash Wings are really good. And then the Thamais are pretty much for any of your Wizards and Guardians to stop their defense reactions, or Crown of Seeds, and Wizards to stop them from doing anything on your turn. But for the main part of the deck, so for attacks, I'm running the Billowing Mirage for the Ashwing creation and the 1-for-3. It's just a solid attack, makes an Ashwing, just everything that's good for your plan. And then one of the main aggro parts is we're running Blaze Headlongs because it's just very solid for this build. There's a lot of ways where just a 0-for-4 go again is just insanely powerful because it might make them need to block with a card from hand, and it's pretty much always going to leak some damage through, and if it doesn't, it at least got rid of maybe a popper from hand against Guardians or something for later in the game. Just kind of depends, but It's just a very, very powerful card in Dromai, in my opinion. I am not running snatches in this build. I know a lot of Dromai is running snatches because of Chromai, but just for this type of build, I don't want to run Snapdragons for this. And I'm not running E-Strikes either, so they're just not necessary. Blaze Headlong is perfect. Standard, I'm running 3 Burn Them Alls. I know some lists only run 2, but 3 is crucial because of the type of build this is. Against the slower decks, your game plan is you're going to be playing down your Tolmantai, popping their Null Rune, and then you're going to be peening them down with Arcane. Because it's really hard to get through otherwise. But it's a very solid game plan, and it's worked for me multiple times. We are running the 3 CNCs. I love this card very much. It is amazing in this deck. It's an amazing card anyways, but one of my favorite lines is I can like Billowing Mirage for 3, go again, make an Ashwing, attack with the Ashwing, whatever other dragons I have out or whatever, and then I can pitch to Furnace, make 2 resources, and swing with Command and Conquer at the end. And it's just makes very, very powerful turns. And then for our other aggro package, we're also running Ravenous Rabbles and Red Sweeping Blows. Sweeping Blows just for the Ash generation because we need Ash for all these dragons, and Ravenous Rabbles because they're mostly going to be a 0 for 4 of Go Again, and they're a starter for our deck to give us Go Again. And then we're just running 3 red Rake the Embers. We don't really... I used to test out like the yellows, but they were just kind of clunky, and then I was running too many non-reds in the deck, and it was causing whiffs from like my Dominia and Tolmantai. Just wasn't worth it. The reds were just plenty. And we're running blue Sweeping Blows instead of blue Billowings because I actually liked the Ash generation more. I've been thinking about maybe turning the Ember Maws into blue Billowings, but the random 2 for 6 is pretty solid. Like if you have this in hand and you're trying to do that plan where you attack for 6 at the end with CNC, you can also do that with the Ember Maws, which is really nice. It's just the blues are very, very weird. There's not many blues that you need to run in this deck. There's not many that you do run. But one of the big parts of this deck that was a big upgrade from Dynasty besides the Crown Dominion is the Dust. So I'm running 2 red Dust from the Red Desert. I was running 3 and 3 was a little bit clunky. I feel like 2 is a good sweet spot. So this card's amazing against the grindier decks that have poppers because we're just going to put this down and we're going to land a Vincerikai and we're going to force them to block with 2 cards. If they don't block with 2 cards, they're taking damage. And they can't pop it. So then they're going to have to block with 2 cards to not take damage and then spend a card to kill them next turn. It's just super powerful versus those grindy matchups because it pretty much takes 3 cards from their hand for their next turn. Unless they want to just take a decent chunk of damage, which I'm okay with them taking some damage because that's how we win those games, is they get chipped out. And then we have the Passing Mirages in the sideboard. They pretty much just come in against any matchup we need more blues, so Wizards, and they come in every matchup that we're expecting a decent amount of poppers. But pretty standard card. Not much to say about Passing Mirage. Card's just good. Makes it so your first dragon attack doesn't have Phantasm. It's a mirror guy that has Spectra. It's really powerful. For defense reactions, we're only running 6. I'm running 3 Fates, 3 Sinks. This was enough for me because most of the deck blocks pretty well already. And I'm really just trying to get value blocks, so I don't really need Oasis Respites or Sand Covers because I need that Ash for dragons. And then Oasis, I don't really want to pitch a card to block 4. I'd rather just do this. If I was running like Tunic in the list, maybe Oasis, but Flamescale has to be ran in every matchup. Flamescale is too good to not run. And then again, for those grindier matchups, which is why this deck's really good, is we're running 2 Remembrance. Remembrance is very good in the grindy matchups because you can cycle your Tolmantai back. So let's say they brought 2 Arcane Barrier just to get around some fancy stuff you're doing. You're able to recycle your Tolmantai and then blow up another piece of equipment. And I have done that, and it's very powerful. more often than not, you're probably going to be recycling your Optimi with like Mirror Guy, because if you can land a Mirror Guy down late game or 2 of them, and then next turn play your Optimi, and then just Optimi with no Phantasm, it's really good. But that's just another one of the late game plans, but it's pretty solid. And then we got the Toma Findall. I don't know why it's in the sideboard. This is actually a main deck card. I need to move that over. This is supposed to be in the sideboard. But I run Toma Findall on the list because I think Toma Findall of Dromai is really good. And then if we have to, we also have Mage Masters into Tome. Oh yeah, and reason why Mage Masters are good. Mage Masters is good because of Toma Findall, and it's also good because it generates an Ash whenever you need it to. And against the grindier matchups, you have it for your Passing Mirage turns and your Dust turns. So you can actually Mage Masters, play Dust, then play Vinsirikai, or you can Mage Masters into a Passing Mirage, and then just keep bringing the hurt. Mage Masters is just very solid, many good uses. And then we're also running Pursuit of Knowledge. This card's really good against the mirror match, and I actually have been running it against aggro decks too, because the aggro decks don't really want to block. So if you're not getting the CNC turn against them and you need to play aggressive against them, you might be able to get Pursuit of Knowledge off, and a 5-card hand versus an aggro deck is pretty good because it'll allow you to maybe block a little bit more if you need to and then still have a decent turn. It's just a very solid card. Yeah, besides that, it's pretty standard. For the most part, you're just going to be playing dragons and cycling them. And yeah, this is the Dragon Horde list. And then I'm running 1 Crown of Reflection for my sideboard headpiece because of Kano. Because having that extra AB is pretty helpful just in case you need it. It's mostly just there because we have local Kano players. So otherwise, if your meta is more aggro, it should be a Crown of Providence or a Skull Cap if you don't have a Crown of Providence, is what I'd run instead. But because my local meta has so much Kano in it, I'm running Crown of Reflection just in case I don't get that early Ashwing creation. Then I have Silken Form and Crown to block 2 AB. But yeah, for the most part, that's the build. Playstyle wise, you just pretty much try to generate some Ash early, and especially if the gold token, if you can. And you're just playing the tempo game. You're just trying to make good blocks and make good trades. Pretty much every dragon forces a card out of hand because they have to attack the dragons to kill them. Saves you some HP. It's pretty hard to kill somebody if you have to kill all their stuff. But yeah, besides that, this is a really fun list, and I definitely recommend trying it out. I'll leave a link to it in the description, but yeah, please check it out. If you have any questions about the build, please message me. I'll leave a link to my Twitter as well. You're welcome to follow and ask me questions about any of my decks or anything in general, really. Always open to talk. I really enjoy this build, and I am going to keep tuning it, but this is a pretty decent stage it's at right now. I even also played this in some side events in Indianapolis, and both side events I went 2-1. My only losses were to I lost to Akatsu because ninjas are rough, and then I lost to a Phi. And yeah, it's just besides that, I won every other matchup. I played against a couple Guardians, played against a Rhinar, which Rhinar you would expect to be pretty rough, but Rhinar was actually a pretty solid matchup for me. It was not too hard because they can't ignore the dragons, and they can't have a huge turn because of it, because they always have to pop a dragon. So they're not usually going to have a 4 or 5 card hand. But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I hope you all enjoy what we're going to try to do with the channel, and we'll see how it goes. But besides that, I hope you all have a great day. Peace.